It'll be one of the greatest unforced political errors we have ever seen, a mugshot for a former president of the United States. Says Fani Willis, a loyal servant of our corrupted DOJ, charges Trump for nonsense, and the Democrat sheriff orders the most recognizable man alive to be photographed so he can be identified if he flees justice, because that's what a mugshot is. The American left has not been this happy in years, like getting a booster shot and a late-term abortion on the same day. MSNBC last night plopped all their biggest stars on the same set to rejoice in a Marxist political persecution. And for people who hate this country, this is about as good as it gets. Here they make fun of the way Trump looks in a mugshot that honestly couldn't look much better with a 1K incandescent bulb burning right over his head. Take a look.
Is there something weird going on at the tip of his nose?
I'm not either, but it looks like the light. I mean, you think of Meadow Shot. I don't know if we have Meadow Shot available.
But yeah, he looked like he'd been beat up. That was great.
well,
it's unflattering. I mean, yeah, as you say,
I don't know.
He didn't bring a ring light there.
That's the news last night on MSNBC from the top hosts. Nicole Wallace better pray she never gets a mugshot, because that photo of her right there is in flattering lighting. And then there's the androgynous identical twins, Rachel Maddow and Chris Hayes. I think you guys should stay in your lane. It continued this morning. Joe Scarborough had to chime in. Take a look.
One of the few moments of levity provided by Donald Trump's staff, self-reported weight and height. I've stood next to him many times. I'm about 6'4". Maybe he's 6'1", maybe he's 6'1.5", 6'2". He's a good bit shorter, but his staff reported him at 6'3", and ended a fighting weight of 215. That would be like if my staff reported me. Describe Mr. Scarborough's appearance. He looks a lot like Robert Redford in 1974.
So, you know why Scarborough knows Trump's height so well? It's because he spent so much time chasing him around and kissing his butt. He and his boss, Mika, helped make Trump a star. You remember that. They'll never live that one down. All that until their corporate overlords instructed them to turn on Donald Trump, and they obediently did so to secure their paychecks. Believe it or not, Joe Biden was also asked today about this big mugshot.
I did see it on television.
What'd you think?
Handsome guy. Wonderful guy.
Handsome guy. Finally, a little honesty from the man who's ordered this legal assault on his political opponent. He probably felt guilty. Why kick Trump when he's already down? But he's actually right. It's probably one of the better mugshots you're ever going to see, because mugshots are meant to look horrible. Just like the rest of the jail experience, it's meant to be demeaning because they don't want you to come back. For serial liar Joy Reid, last night's political humiliation of a former president of the United States was justice. Reid shared one of the most disingenuous and patently false stories you're ever going to hear to justify relishing in Trump's misery. Her pitiful interpretation of the story of the Central Park Five, 5 teens who were out terrorizing New Yorkers in the park way back in 1989. The group were arrested for raping a young investment banker while she was out on a jog. It was a horrific story. And then the 5 were exonerated under very suspicious circumstances. At the time, New York was a cesspool, a crack epidemic, 2,000 murders a year, and Trump bought a full-page ad in multiple newspapers with a message that met the moment. Mayor Koch has stated that hate and rancor should be removed from our hearts. I do not think so. I want to hate these muggers and murderers. They should be forced to suffer, and when they kill, they should be executed for their crimes. If the punishment is strong, the attacks on innocent people will stop. I recently watched a newscast trying to explain the anger in these young men. I no longer want to understand their anger. I want them to understand our anger. I want them to be afraid. And with that, and a little background on this story, listen to Joy Reid's take on all of this and Trump, and then we're going to hit you with the facts that Joy Reid will never tell you about this story.
I still remember that he made 5 teenagers my age take a mugshot.
Yeah.
that he wanted them not just to take a mugshot, he wanted them dead.
Say what that case was.
And this was the Central Park 5 case, the exonerated 5. I despised Donald Trump because he, to me, signified the rich white guy in Manhattan that absolutely hated and despised me, that called us wilding just because we were in the park. People like Giuliani and people like Trump persecuted Black and brown people in New York. It's what they did for fun. To me, this is justice.
She's such a despicable person. It's hard to listen to. These poor boys, they were exonerated, she says. Only in the twisted mind of Joy Reid are the Central Park 5 victims of anything. 28-year-old Trisha Mealy was dragged into the woods, beaten to a pulp with a pipe, stripped, raped, and left for dead. That's her shirt, soaked in blood. She lost 2/3 of her blood. She survived somehow after a 12-day coma. The Central Park 5 confessed to the attack with adult relatives or parents present with them. On the drive to the precinct, one of the 5 claimed he had nothing to do with the rape. All he did was feel her breasts. The arresting officer hadn't even mentioned a rape at that point. Another had told a friend, "We just raped somebody." All 5 were sent to prison for between 6 and 13 years until a while later, when violent rapist Matthias Reyes confessed that he had raped Trisha Mealy. And in radical left New York, that was all that was needed to immediately free the Central Park 5, even though a cellmate told investigators that Reyes heard the assault and ran over to join in on that horrific night in Central Park in 1989. And even though experts said Mealy had been raped by more than one person, very clearly, and Reyes was simply one of the rapists who had gotten away. Regardless, the Central Park 5 were freed and are now heroes in the circles that Joy Reid hangs out in New York. Look at them. Great group. They're invited to social events. The victim, Trisha Mealy, telling ABC News, "I always knew that there was at least one more person involved because there was unidentified DNA. So when I heard the news that there was an additional person found whose DNA matched, that wasn't a tremendous surprise. But when he said that he and he alone had done it, that's when some of the turmoil started. Wondering, well, how can that be?" Well, Reyes was lying, of course. But that's a picture of the legal system in this country. This is the ideology of justice in big blue cities. People like Joy Reid have all the power in places like Fulton County, places like Manhattan.